So there were reports coming out about the kind of offense Mike McCarthy wants, talking about size, physicality, setting a tone, all of that. And when you really start putting that together with the personnel stuff, this is where it gets interesting fast, because if McCarthy is going to live in a lot of 11 personnel like he has before, then you are not talking about two tight ends being out there together all the time where everybody gets theirs and nobody really feels it. Now you are talking about one tight end getting that nod in those first and second down situations when the offense is still trying to stay balanced, still trying to keep the run game live, still trying to hit you with play action, still trying to not tell the defense exactly what is coming. And that is where Darnell Washington suddenly becomes a huge story, because if McCarthy is looking at early downs and saying, I want more size, I want more force, I want more blocking, I want more physicality, I want to be able to line up in 11 and still make defenses respect everything, then Darnell Washington is the one that makes the most sense for that job. And that is a big deal, because now you are not just talking about Washington getting a few extra snaps here and there. Now you are talking about him maybe getting the actual nod over Pat in some of those early down 11 personnel looks. And that is huge for Washington. And yeah, obviously a little concerning for Pat, because first and second down is where the offense starts telling you who it trusts. That is where identity starts. That is where you either get to play your kind of football or the defense gets to start dictating to you. And if Washington is the guy McCarthy wants out there in those spots, that tells you a lot. That tells you McCarthy may be looking at him as more than just some oversized blocker. He may be looking at him like a player who lets the offense stay big, stay nasty, and still stay multiple without needing 12 personnel to do it. And that is why this is not really a Pat first story to me. It really is more of a Darnell Washington story, because Washington already gives you something different right now. Today, before you even get into any projection stuff, he is the more dominant blocker. He gives you more force at the point of attack. He gives you more of that extra tackle feel while still being athletic enough that you cannot just completely ignore him as a receiving body. And if McCarthy is serious about wanting a more physical offense, especially on those early downs where everything is still on the table, then yeah, it is not hard to see why Washington could start getting that nod in 11. And once that happens, that is where the whole thing shifts, because now this is not just some depth chart conversation. This is about Washington maybe getting the kind of snaps that actually matter, the kind of snaps that shape the drive, the kind of snaps that shape how defenses have to play you. And the really scary part is that the blocking is only the baseline here, because if this offseason Washington got even a little better as a pass catcher, a little smoother, a little more natural, a little more comfortable, working the middle, then this stops being okay. Bigger blocker, more snaps, cool, and starts becoming okay. Now, this dude might be the kind of player who can stay on the field in 11 on first and second down and make the defense deal with all of it. And that is where this goes from interesting to nasty real quick, because once you get into the football part of it, that is where you really see why this could become a real issue for defenses and a real pressure point for Pat's role, because Washington already has the easiest lane imaginable to more playing time. He is just a better blocker, plain and simple. And on first and second down in 11 personnel, that matters a lot, because if the offense wants to line up with 3 receivers and still be able to run it, still be able to sell play action, still be able to bully lighter boxes, still be able to not tip the defense off, then the tight end has to do real work. And Washington gives you that in a way Pat just does not. So right there, before we even talk about catches, there is already a real reason McCarthy could lean Washington in those situations. But the obvious blocking stuff is not even the most interesting part to me. The most interesting part is what happens if Washington is actually becoming a true receiving threat now, because if he is, then he stops being situational. He stops being the guy defenses can label as the run game tight end and move on from. Now he becomes a guy who can stay on the field and not give you any free answers. And that is when an offense starts getting really annoying to play against, because in 11 personnel, defenses are expecting certain things. They are expecting that one tight end to either be more of a receiving guy or more of a blocking guy. And if Washington starts blurring that in a real way, then now the defense has to actually think, now linebackers have to honor him more over the middle. Now safeties cannot just fly downhill with no fear. Now the quarterback has a giant target who helps him in the run game and still gives him a pretty friendly throwing window when he needs it. And that is why a player like this makes life easier for the quarterback and harder for everybody else. because you are not changing personnel to get different jobs done. You are getting multiple jobs done with the same body on the field, and that is where the Pat concern becomes real, not because Pat is bad, not because he forgot how to play football, none of that stupid stuff. The concern is role pressure, because if Washington starts getting those early down 11 personnel nods and then looks good enough in the passing game to stay involved, then Pat is the one who starts feeling the squeeze. Because now he is not just competing with some role-specific blocker, now he is competing with a giant matchup piece that might be getting too useful to take off the field, and that changes the whole shape of the tight end room. Because once Washington is not just the dirty work guy anymore, once he is not just the first and second down hammer, once he can stay on the field and actually make teams pay through the air too, now, the offense does not have to separate their roles so cleanly. Now the snap share gets interesting. Now the target share gets interesting. Now the whole thing becomes way more than just who starts on the depth chart. And that is why I think the real point here is not even that Pat might lose some shine. The real point is that the Steelers could be gaining something way more valuable than that.